What if I would have started doing those same actions of that gentleman who I envied back in the 90s before his life had tragically ended? When you start envying people, you will start trying to mimic them. You will start trying to be exactly like them. Think about it. So, have you ever looked at the movie Scarface or one of those like movies like that, Power, or one of those shows like that? And then when you finished up the show, you start thinking thoughts in your head like, man, I'm envious of Ghost. Man, I'm envious of Scarface. Then you start thinking in your head like different kind of things like, hold on, man, you know what? Maybe I can get away with this. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Mindset Master Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Reed, and I'm also the proprietor of the podcast. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about stop being envious of other people. Now, I know in life that we're all kind of envious of somebody. It could be a celebrity, it can be like, your parents, your cousin. But the thing is, you should never ever be envious of anyone because how do you know that this person really owns this car? Like a lot of people get wrapped up in being envious of somebody, but they don't know the real dynamics, the real whole scope of what the person done or either that they didn't do to make you be envious. Because a lot of times in life, people will try to do things to try to look a certain way on social media or look a certain way at a red light that they're realistically not. And then when they see you looking and gawking and stuff like that, they know they got you inside the envy trap. And if you want to learn more about this topic, stay tuned to the end of this episode. Now, this topic is something that I myself personally have been guilty of. I never will forget when I was younger, I used to be real envious of like the neighborhood people around the area that I grew up in. And it was this one particular guy, and he had like a really nice car. And this is back in like the 90s, like the early 90s, late 80s, when if you had like gold rims and like a gold bumper on your car, like you was somebody. Now, this particular guy, he had like gold all on his car. He had gold all in his mouth. I'm maybe about 13 or 14 years old. And I'm looking at him like, man, when I grow up, I want to be just like him. Up until this time, I was absolutely clueless of the particular work industry that this gentleman was involved in. My grandfather never ever one time told me what this man done for a living. About a month and a half later, the guy winds up getting shot and killed. And so we went to his funeral, and then I heard all of these people talking about all these crimes and stuff that the guy who I was envious of was committing and how he had done this to this person. And I was like, I'm envious of a criminal? If this is who I'm envious of, this same thing that happened to him could potentially happen to me because I'm envious of the lifestyle that he had. I never knew that he sold drugs to obtain the money that he got to get the gold bumpers and the gold teeth and stuff like that. I wasn't thinking. I thought the man actually owned a legitimate business. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about stop being envious of people. See, most people, when you envious of them, they're really not the person who you think that they are. I guarantee you, if you hang around people long enough, they'll tell you exactly who they truly are. I want to put you to a challenge. If you envy somebody, it could be somebody at your church. You might envy them for the particular Infiniti G37 that they had just purchased. You may be envious of that. When you get envious at that person, I would like for you to start hanging around that person. Start just asking the person, hey, such and such, can I come hang out with you? Can I come be around you? Can I just be in your presence? I guarantee you, once you actually get around that person and once you actually start talking and communicating with that person, they're going to be a whole different person than you actually are envious of. You're going to be sitting like, dog, all of these years I've been envious of this person here, and this isn't even your car. This isn't even your Infiniti. When you start envying people, it's always another thing in the mix. They never tell you what it is that you really need to know, how they obtain the things that you're envious about. I bet you that you're not truly envious of the person, just like me with my example with the guy who I was envious of. I wasn't necessarily envious of him as an individual. I was envious of the things that he had acquired in his life, but I didn't know how he had acquired them. All I knew was he had nice stuff and I wanted those exact same things. That's all all I cared about. See, when you start envying people, they'll know that you envy them. You're going to start doing the same actions and doing the same things that this person over here is doing who you envy. What if I would have started doing those same actions of that gentleman who I envied back in the 90s before his life had tragically ended? What if I would have started trying to mimic him? What if I had tried to start making, sales and high-fiving and putting money back in pockets and stuff like that? White dust everywhere. So if I would have started doing that kind of stuff, I probably would have been in the same location that he is. When you start envying people, you will start trying to mimic them. You will start trying to be exactly like them. Think about it. So have you ever looked at the movie Scarface or one of those like movies like that, Power, or one of those shows like that? And then when you finished up the show, you start thinking thoughts in your head like, man, I'm envious of Ghost. Man, I'm envious of Scarface. Then you start thinking in your head like different kind of things like, hold on, man, you know what? Maybe I can get away with this. If you like this episode today thus far, please press that like and subscribe button for me. That's the reason why people be flexing on the gram and be flexing on the book and stuff like that, because most people want somebody to be envious of them, but never be envious of anybody, because that same person who's on the gram or who's on the book, who's flexing and doing all of this, that Brabus Mercedes they gets posted, is that really theirs? Or if you go around to the side, do you see a rent me for 4 hours? You got to look at the whole perspective. You got to look at the whole thing, look at the whole picture. Stop being envious of people just because they pulled up in a Lamborghini. That might not be his Lamborghini. They might be his granddaddy's Lamborghini. Typically, people are envious of people who really ain't got no true money. The people who really got true money, you normally ain't envious of them. Most people are going to be envious of somebody in the little local neighborhood, little hustler, little nickel and dime kind of person. But realistically, do they really got some money? Are they really the kind of people who you should really be envious of? Because if you really sit back and think about it, I bet you 9 times out of 10, they're realistically not really worth being envious of. Now, when you get around this person over here who you envious of, you see they take care of their kids, you see they take care of their spouse, you see they do what they supposed to do as a human being and in life, then okay, you might kind of be envious of them. But up until all of those prerequisites are met, please do not be envious of anybody, because it's not worth your time, your energy, or your mindset to let somebody trick you into thinking that they are more than what they truly are up until you get to know them. And that about wraps it up for today's episode. Until next time, I'll catch you later.